Hey guys, welcome back to the 429 podcast. I'm 9.
I'm 4.
I'm 2.
And today we're back with another Techcast. So you guys
Techcast
ready
Friday.
for...
Here we go.
There's a lot of things that happened this week, and I'm not
Why is it
exaggerating.
only you find a lot of things that happen in the week?
Because you guys don't know how to look. I look through everything. I look through the crevices. I'm a journalist at heart. I look through everything. If I have to go out in the field with my mask on, I'll do it. Anyway, I will have to warn our audience right now. Unfortunately, despite all my looking, I could not find any more information on Herman Miller.
Thank
I tried
God.
my best. Oh, man. But the search continues. Anyway, let's start off with a nice, easy story today. To start off immediately.
All right.
First thing first, traffic management is getting AI treatment. So there's a new AI-based traffic management system that's been in the works and testing in Phoenix, and has been getting some pretty good, results so far. Right. Essentially, it's a very limited test run they did so far. It's done pretty well. It's managed. They claim that it has improved traffic by like 40 or 50%, right? So decent. But you have to consider some variables such as the fact that, we're still in a pandemic, so it doesn't get the full, I would say, load that our normal traffic would be, right? Once everything goes back to normal. But it's a good test run. And, it's going to, start coming out to this cities and stuff like that. What do you guys think?
I mean, traffic and the roads seem like a really good idea, a really good kind of path for AI to be used, right? So long as you can get the correct data, which I think if it's a government sponsored program, or maybe even if you get someone like Google with Google Maps or Waze to kind of like sponsor it and give you the data you want, it might be a really cool kind of application for AI, right? Because I mean, artificial intelligence, give it the proper data, and you can pretty much have it figure out trends and patterns and whatever, right? So I mean, if they wanted to be able to figure things out better and kind of be able to route traffic better, like I think it actually could be a really, really good application for it. So that's kind of cool. What
do you think, too?
So I guess you're using AI to really control traffic. This is really up my alley. So it's kind of like it's interesting. So it's going to use to like control like stoplights and like
So the way this is they pertain in the article was essentially, instead of it being a time-based system like we usually do our traffic, it basically takes measurements based on the traffic flow, right? If it's a heavy load or a light load on one side of the freeway or whatever, it basically optimizes that, takes that information and basically optimize. Like if there's less people in this side of the city, then shorter stops and stuff like that. It takes all this into account. It does calculations, stuff like that. So it's no longer a time-based system.
Maybe it's 4 a.m. and you're driving down a road. You're the only car on the road, and there's a stoplight. Maybe it won't be red. Maybe who knows, right?
It'll still be red for me somehow. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is that I guess we'll probably talk more about this offline. But it's interesting, but I like the concept. But I want to see it be executed because we all know with government systems, government infrastructure, and then you have repair people who actually have to go out and fix this stuff after storms. There's a big learning curve when it comes to repairing this kind of stuff, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they actually execute it and develop it for it to actually for me to actually before I could even comment further on it.
100%. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got a lot of stories. Next one, I don't know if you guys heard about this because you guys haven't said anything, but Gmail was down for a while, actually. So this was, I believe, yesterday. At around 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Gmail was down globally, not just in one area, not in just the Eastern Seaboard. Across the globe, it was down for about 6 hours, right? So by the time we woke up, right, in our time, everything was pretty much back to normal. But from what I hear from the community, there are a lot of students were, panicking. I got to send this email to my professor. Some employees are like, oh, of course now. But it was pretty chaotic for a lot of people over the ocean.
I have an easy explanation why I didn't know. I was sleeping. I'm old, so it's I was sleeping.
Was it because you're sleeping or because you use Yahoo? Which one was it?
The same thing.
I have a Gmail account, and that's where all of our podcast emails go. But again, I haven't been checking those either. So at the same time, it really didn't affect me. But that's interesting actually, because you would think something like Google maintains that kind of stuff, and even if it's down, 6 hours is a very long time for Google. I've never heard Google being down more than say 30 minutes, man. But like
it was pretty chaotic. Yeah,
and you're talking about like globally, right? So I mean, like, I'm curious, like, what could have went wrong? What broke that? Every single one of their data centers and every single one of their, cloud centers or whatever was down, right? How does that happen at Google scale when they've got like servers and data centers everywhere in the world, man? Like, that's crazy.
You probably had that one dude who just removed that JavaScript package. And I'm telling you right now, like,
or that one dude that tripped over the wire of the server and everything
was like, whoops, I want to plug it back in. What's gonna happen?
It's fire. It's all on fire.
When continuous integration and deployment goes wrong. Gmail edition.
But yeah, I mean, like, no one said anything. It was actually pretty, for such a global scale issue, pretty much no one really paid attention to it. It kind of got swept under the rug of the morning news.
Look, all I could tell you is that I don't want to be that engineer who was dealing with that fire, because that's a big fire.
That's a 2 a.m. fire that you want to not be in. Anyway, I hope you guys weren't affected by that, but it's time to move on to the next one. And this one, I think, you're going to find real interesting. Again, it's TikTok news.
Oh, God.
And this time, there's a new player in the Battle Royale.
A new foe has appeared.
Oracle is in talks to acquire TikTok.
All right.
Apparently, Oracle now wants to, jump in the bandwagon of essentially purchasing TikTok from themselves.
Why does Larry want TikTok? For those who don't know, Larry Ellison is the co-founder and the executive CEO of Google, Oracle.
You got a promotion? Whoa.
No, that's Sundar Pichai, who's still CEO of Google, who's doing an amazing job besides the last fire.
Well, the community feedback for this is like, Larry's gonna ruin it. What are they doing? Oracle is just gonna basically run it down.
It doesn't make sense. Like, Oracle's enterprise software. They do cloud, they do Java, they do stuff for businesses and stuff like that. Why the hell are they getting TikTok?
They want that data, man. They want the data. Listen, you know what it is? I think they're just going to have such a hard time because all of these contenders that keep coming in, right? You had Twitter last week. Now you got Oracle. But, like, realistically, none of them can actually keep up with Microsoft, right? Microsoft has a market cap of, like, $1.6 trillion. I mean, Oracle, I think, has a market cap of, like, 160 trillion or something like that. I'm sorry, 160 billion or something like that. And then Twitter even less than them. Like, I mean, you could put Oracle's money and Twitter's money together and they still wouldn't even be able to compete with an offer that Microsoft could give. So they're just going to have a hard time.
This is going to be interesting. I don't know who's going to really have the edge on this, but isn't TikTok getting banned soon?
Yeah. So this is kind of confusing because, TikTok is literally running out of time to get purchased and bought. And it just seems like more and more players are just putting their bids in and trying to, acquire it. So it just makes it more difficult for everyone who actually, like Microsoft or who was the other person in talks? I forgot. But yeah, and to get in it. So it just adds more time to the already extensive process of purchasing a company. So I don't know what's going on.
Everyone's joking that it's going to be installed on 3 billion devices.
I don't know. I really don't know. This was really strange. Everyone just saying, pretty much just treating Oracle as like the odd one of the bunch, being like, Oracle, get out of here. You're just driving in the ground. You don't even know how the Java works sometimes. So
interesting. All right, let's keep going.
Next one, right? This is the one too you have mentioned and you wanted in this one.
Thank God it's here. Yes.
Internet Explorer, unfortunately, let's press F right now. It's
dead.
Yeah, pretty much. Internet Explorer 11 and Legacy Edge will be dead by next year, pretty much. 2021.
This time next year.
Yeah, basically. So, if you have your grandma who's still using it, you're gonna have to break the news to her. I'm sorry.
This is actually like really saddening to me. I've been a kind of really consistent Internet Explorer user pretty much my entire life. I'm absolutely kidding. This won't affect me at all.
I was about to say, this will have no effect out of all people.
Thankfully, it's gone. Let's standardize our browsers already. Come on.
No, let's be honest. Come on, look. We all of us don't use Internet Explorer anymore, right?
No.
And pretty much, and for me actually, at least in work, is actually kind of a nuisance because a lot of the modern features for web dev and stuff like that are not supported. So we have to do like X additional work just to support this outdated thing. So for me,
as
it's
a web developer, you're probably ecstatic.
I am so happy. You have no idea. But
as just a user, I'm like, we use this system sometimes, right? And I'm happy as a user because now you have excuses to build new systems, right? Like this is
100%.
the perfect excuse that a person was looking for to be like, hey, let me go build this new system now, right? So
100%.
I'm pretty interested and excited about that. But again, this is just when we define killing off, it doesn't mean that when you get Windows that like Internet Explorer is not going to be on there anymore. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah,
what
a lot of people.
Yeah, what we're saying by killing off is that Microsoft, like it did with Windows 7, like it's done with Windows Millennium Edition and a bunch of other systems, it's just going to stop supporting it. So basically, you're just completely on your own. And so if anything happens, Microsoft is just no longer responsible or liable for it.
Yeah, a lot of people actually, I'm glad you really brought that up because a lot of people, and from what I hear in the public reception to this, was like, oh man, like all the legacy apps are just going to die next year. And I'm like, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. It doesn't get clean off the internet.
Is this just consumer Internet Explorer, or is this also stand for the corporate and like kind of commercial?
This is Internet Explorer. Like all teams, pretty much, that Microsoft that work with Internet Explorer in any capacity are done so.
Yeah, and as far as I knew, I don't think there was a difference in web browser. I think there was just a standard web browser for everyone, besides like web developers.
Well yeah, correct. But... So you're right, but like when it comes to things like Windows 7, for example, right? Windows 7, the consumer edition, I don't think that's necessarily all that much supported anymore by Microsoft, but
it's not.
The corporate editions, those are still getting updates and security features, and they're still kind of up and running.
From what I hear, pretty much across the board, it's like
but it's different on this one because since this is just a software across like the whole board, so it's kind of like there's not really a distinction. If there was an Internet Explorer Enterprise and Internet Explorer Regular, I assume we would have seen the same thing. But because it's like just one standard app across everything, I think they did that. But I'm 90% sure Microsoft gave all its enterprise clients be like, hey, just so you know, we plan on killing this in like a year or two, right? So like they probably had a heads up already in advance.
100%.
So I guess it's really just up to the engineering organizations in part of each of the firms to really just go and just upgrade their tech. And I think we're going to see that over the next 3 to 5 years. You'll see all major apps that rely on Internet Explorer based objects be like completely phased out over the next couple of years. So it should be interesting, especially now. This is really big. If Microsoft plans on launching like a new OS, right? Like if they do Windows 11, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna start seeing some very interesting things because in order to migrate to Windows 11, you can't have Internet Explorer support. So that's gonna be a big thing forward when Microsoft decides to do the next OS upgrade.
I mean, at the end of the day, right, we joke about how it's kind of like outdated and stuff like that, but we should give props when it's due. This was one of the first major. It was my first browser, actually.
It was my first browser, yeah. So it's a piece of history we're losing right here. But
it's a piece of history. I mean, it's gotten me through many Google Chrome installations, I got to tell you.
But let me tell you one thing here, though. This is 25 years. Like the internet. Think about the internet 25 years ago. This is 1995 you're talking about. That's when the first like GUIs were really like just starting to come out.
You mean you didn't?
I wasn't even born.
1995? What? Come on,
bro. I didn't. I wasn't.
You mean
born
you didn't time travel to the future to get Chrome, and then going back? I'm like, come on.
Do you know how much RAM that would have killed those computers?
You didn't time travel with your RAM? Whatever. You clearly are casual. Anyway, time for the next story, right? And this one, like 4, you're gonna like also. Now. It's been said, right? There's been a data outbreak. 235 million profiles have been breached.
I gotta go check on social media.
This goes against across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Right? So if you're any one of those, right, your profiles, information, and data has been breached and probably in the dark net, unfortunately, right now.
Did we just talk about this?
What capacity?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that for. So, this sound off the headline, immediately you're thinking, TikTok, Instagram, Google, how'd you let this happen? This is actually not really their fault.
See, it seems like I'm being baited by reading that because it's like, the odds of all of them being breached together.
Exactly.
Like,
so let me clarify. I don't know if you guys ever heard of something called Deep Social. Deep Social was essentially a corporation that was parsing public information of like multiple profiles across the internet, right? They were basically going through every person's YouTube account, every person's Instagram account, and just taking every data that was publicly accessible, right? Okay. So your channel name, if you have a name publicly available there, everything, and then basically dumping into a database, right?
Got it.
Back in 2018, Facebook, and I think Google filed a lawsuit against them, being like, "Hey, you can't do this, right? That's not good, right?" And they pretty much shut them down. Another company that's tied to them, essentially, who like kind of managed the outbreak of that, they said that the database that was basically parsing all those back then, that's what broke out.
Is this just like the Cambridge Analytica thing again? Basically,
it's kind of. So to start off, right? This is not as I want to say in really light terms damaging as that, because at the end of the day, this is public information. So this is not like your passwords got breached, or this is not like your any heavy like sensitive information wasn't breached in this data breach, right? This was pretty much very public stuff. So at worst, your email, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, that's not saying like, oh, okay, that's fine, because of course you can still do a lot with someone's email and for names and stuff like that.
Anyone.
Yeah. So it's not quickly as off the headlines. It might sound like, oh man, this is huge. If you look deeper in it, it's not as big as you think. It's not like Cambridge Analytics level of big, right? Which is why I think a lot of people didn't really pay mind to this when it came out. But nonetheless, it's something that people should be aware of, because this is pretty much not good.
Yeah, this honestly just sounds like a rogue API gone wild, right? Really, it just sounds like the API credentials of Deep Social were just used for malicious purposes across YouTube, TikTok, and 100%. Instagram. But it makes me realize one thing: I didn't know TikTok had APIs, so that's good to know. With all the data they have.
Well, so, they don't even need APIs, right? Everything's accessible through URLs. You can just kind of like manually query things based on
100% that as well.
Yeah, so not as big, but still, if you're one of those people who have, most likely on average, you'll have at least one of these accounts. So, I would say keep an eye on your emails, change your password maybe just to be safe, and just be alert about it. So I feel like this should be more publicly accessible. Anyway, time for the next one. And this one's a little bit more lighter, right? We're going back into more lighter news, right? Some Apple rumors.
Oh. Okay.
God. For me. Pretty much, actually not even a rumor. This is actually announced. This is an announcement. Apple announced the Apple Music Radio, right? So, I don't know if any of you guys use Apple Music.
I do.
Right? So, Apple Music Radio, if you were a long-time user of Apple Music, you remember Beats One. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So Beats One was essentially like this cool like personalized radio station where like it kind of like gave you like a lot of good recommendations. A lot of people liked it and stuff like that. And essentially, they transform it and basically modify that to become this new Apple Music Radio. Right?
Apple's just killing Beats, man.
Yeah. They're just slowly guttering open and just taking what's good and just putting the Apple name slowly and surely. A lot of people are actually a mix about this. From what I hear from the Apple Music community, they like Beats One. Like that was one of the, I think, strongest features they say about Apple Music. But they're really getting tired of the whole Apple naming. Like Apple, I think it's called Apple Music One.
Yep.
Right. And it's starting to become like, how many words can we fit to make it personalized? Like it's just becoming too lengthy. I wouldn't be surprised. Like Apple Music One for everyone plus me. Like it just,
so this doesn't really sound like a rumor. This just sounds more like
this is confirmation.
Branding.
This is not a rumor. I misspoke earlier. This is a full-on announcement. This is announcing it. This is basically adding radio to Apple Music, right? With one of the biggest radios being their old Beats One station.
Okay.
So hey, they got a country music station now. Nice.
So they're pretty much trying to catch up to Spotify. For some people, this is really cool. For others, it's like, going back to my...
but this is going to be a big dent in Spotify's, algos and stuff, right? Because Spotify, like, if you guys didn't know, Spotify was also down at some point today. I'm sorry to spoil on maybe one of your Techcast stories, but...
I actually didn't know about this.
Okay, well, Spotify was actually down at some point today, right? So this
Wasn't that last week?
No, they came down today too this morning.
Oh wow, they keep going down then.
This is an interesting tidbit here because this is really throwing a wrench in Spotify's thing, right? Because it's like,
100%.
hey, while you were down, look at this. We just made a radio station that beat you, right? So it's kind of like, oh shit, right?
Yeah.
So like,
who wasn't down today? Apple Music. They weren't down today.
That's true. That's true. It's funny. As someone who claims to be a big Apple fan, this is one of the services I don't use. I still prefer Spotify over Apple Music.
Wow.
But any improvements, that makes me look over and be like, maybe one day, if you keep it up.
I do like Spotify for their cross-platform capability because I use Windows, I use Linux. I do like how like kind of cross-platform Spotify is, but for the most part, 90% of the time I'm listening to music on my phone. So
for me, it's not even that. I listen to I download my music, right? For me, it's not even the platform support of Spotify. I just like their algorithm way more than Apple Music. Like their algorithm, their recommendations always are pretty spot on for me when they recommend stuff.
Oh, I see.
So
I never listen to the recommendations. I kind of find my own music.
Give them a try.
I kind of just use SoundCloud. I like the free services, but that's just me.
Well, anyway, let's move on to our big story, right? And you guys probably gonna see this coming if you guys know me very well. But the big story today is going to be Epic versus Apple.
Oh man!
And why am I not surprised?
And the reason is because I made this the big story this week is because so much has unfolded this week alone compared to the first 2 weeks that it's almost like it's just becoming like a snowball effect. Like it's getting bigger and bigger. And I wouldn't be surprised if next week is the other big story because this thing is unfolding quick. So let me give you this in parts, right? One, Apple is terminating Epic's developer account over Fortnite. So basically,
wait, their account?
Yes, the developer account.
Oh wow!
So they're pretty much like done. Like Apple is pretty much like you broke the policy. That's it. We're deleting your account unless there's some sort of agreement or like compromise between the two. Epic is losing their development account for the Apple Music for Apple Store. So, your initial reactions, right? What are your initial reactions to that? Tell me real quick.
I mean, if you did this as a small developer, that would have been the first thing that would have happened. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
But this is an interesting point because it's sort of like, wow, like it's one of the top downloaded games on the iPhone. So
I'm glad you mentioned that.
So it's kind of like, well, damn. Like,
what do you think? What do you think for?
Well, I mean, I don't think that Apple will back down.
Yes,
I think they have a reason to. Like Fortnite, at the end of the day, like I said, it's not making or breaking Apple's success. But, I mean, if Fortnite's not available on the App Store, I'm sure you've got a certain set of people who, want to play Fortnite on their phones or are really into it, and that might kind of influence their decision on what they're going to do next, right? Because I know Google might have taken it off the Play Store, but, on an Android phone, you can still download external applications. So if, you want to go to Epic's website and download Fortnite that way, I'm pretty sure you're still able to do that on your Android phones, right? So, I mean, maybe people who are into gaming and into the mobile scene might see this as the opportunity to say, they're taking off Fortnite. They're not letting, Microsoft's Arcade come onto the iPhone. As someone that's into mobile gaming, maybe you decide that the iPhone's no longer the platform you want to be buying, right? So I could see this maybe kind of harming Apple's capability to kind of keep up with the mobile gaming market. But, I mean, maybe that's wishful thinking because, I mean, a lot of Apple's fan base is extremely loyal and doesn't care about mobile games. Like, personally, I don't really care about mobile games. And, I like my iPhone for iMessage, and I probably would not give it up for anything else. So
I'm really glad. It seems like from your reactions, you're pretty much being like, okay, Fortnite fans, they're going to boo, they're going to cry, but, they have options, right?
Mm-hmm.
But immediately, you guys fell to the trap of what the consequences of what this action actually is entitled to. Because when I say Epic has terminated their Epic developer account, there's a lot more consequences to what that being tied to.
Okay.
Another thing that Epic does, and if you guys don't remember, is that they're the makers of the Unreal Engine.
Mm-hmm.
So every game that licensed the Unreal Engine is also now going to be kicked off the Apple Store.
Oh, man.
So that's the consequences this is coming out to be. So now immediately, Epic's move has not only tarnished their relationship with Apple, but has tarnished the reputation as an engine licensor to all these indie game companies or even big gaming companies that made their mobile games with their engine.
Mm-hmm.
So this is huge implications, and because of that, Epic has pretty much said they're going to fight this. Right? They already filed basically a court order to block this, and like you said, for Apple is not going to back down from this, right? And it makes sense, right? If Epic wins, every other developer is going to want the same treatment, right? That pretty much going to destroy their structure of the Apple Store overnight, right? Completely, right? So they're going to fight tooth and nail to make sure Epic lose. At the same time, Epic is putting everything on the line to basically get this to win. So this is good to not. This is not going to be this is not one of those fights where like they just settle out of court and then that's it. It's over. This is going to be a long, dirty fight.
This is a battle.
This is a battle. This is a battle.
I'm curious, like, what advice did Epic receive to make this happen, right? Like, mobile games, right? I'm pretty sure they had over 1 billion people playing Fortnite on their mobile phones, right? And now all of those people might not have the opportunity to play Fortnite anymore. Get a new phone.
The way I see it, honestly, Epic is losing a lot of money right here.
They're losing a lot. Yeah, they're losing.
That's what I'm saying. Because like, what move? Why would they have made that move unless they had some really, really sound legal advice that this lawsuit was going to go their way? Like,
I guess they saw the Congress meeting a few weeks ago, and they were probably like, well, hold up, let's give them something to talk about, right? Let's be the first company to actually take a stand or take a step against Apple, right?
Yep.
I want to clarify something. There's a lot of misconception about exactly what Epic did, right? And I looked into it, right? Epic didn't, they didn't just add the update to the payment thing that started this whole thing, right? They basically Trojan horse the thing in. So what happened was that they, like, if you don't know how the process is, for every app developer, you have to do a review that Apple basically comes over the review, checks out, matches all their policies and stuff, nothing malicious and stuff. And then you get an approval for that release of that version, and it goes to the App Store, right?
Oh, man.
They did the review, and then after the review was done, they added that feature in and then pushed that to release.
Oh, that's crazy.
So they basically Trojan horse the thing in after the review. So this is something they basically, this could basically indicate like pre-motives, right? And not even including the fact that they had a whole PR movement ready with like the whole, the video and stuff like that. So this is basically, one can argue this is basically like a pre-planned thing.
It was premeditated.
Yeah,
because like the way I'm really seeing this and the way you're talking about it is really like, well, first, how to get past Apple's review. That's a big security flaw.
Yeah.
But second, it's sort of like, I see the intention behind it, but what would cause them to have that intention unless they wanted that extra 30 cents they would get from that dollar, right?
But, I mean, Foresight, like, there's a billion of players, right? And just like with Apple fans, there's some loyal Fortnite fans. And, we're seeing it right now. Right now, if you look on eBay and stuff like that, people are selling their phones for thousands and thousands of dollars because it has Fortnite pre-installed on it right now.
$10,000?
Yes.
I could have bought the Herman Miller chair with that kind of money.
If you have Fortnite right now on your mobile phone, you'd be selling that thing right now for $10,000 to $20,000 easily.
You could have gotten the chair and the desk and all Logitech peripherals to go with it.
Everything. This is just giving me like Flappy Bird's flashback. I don't know if you anymore remember that.
Oh, yeah.
But this is like, coming back. And like Forrest said, there are loyal fans out there. So, and I've seen a lot of them like stand behind Epic, even though they don't know the full situation that's going on. So like you're basically having, not only is this a fight between Epic and Apple, this is basically a fight between their loyal fans together, pitting each other to the death. Yeah. And Epic is not even done. So another story that's tied into this, right? Epic is talking to other people. So they've been in talks with Spotify and Sonos and creating an anti-app store coalition, basically an agreement or like a pact to be like, we're gonna stand against Apple and their anti-monopoly practices.
But let me tell you something. No matter who they partner with, it's gonna bite them in the wallet. Apple Apple has way too much of a stronghold. Do you see Spotify leaving the App Store? Hell no. Do you know how much money Spotify makes off the App Store?
You know, it's funny. It's funny you mention that because although they have been in talks with these companies, right? Not a single one of them has officially announced, their involvement or approval of it yet. So
look, if you get a company to announce it, it's not going to be one of the major players. I'm calling it right now.
It's gonna bite them. It's just too hard. Like even Spotify, someone who's been an outcry of this system for a long time and has their own legal battles with Apple in the past, they know how much it's gonna hurt them. They know what the consequences are.
When it comes to Spotify, right now, you don't have to pay for your Spotify account through the App Store, right? So like
you cannot.
What do you mean?
So if you want to do a payment for Spotify account, right? They just like Netflix does. You cannot do any payments through the App Store because they get that 30%, right? You see, so just like what Netflix does, you have to go to their site to do any purchases.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's basically that's the way they were doing it. And Epic just could have gone that route.
Yeah, why wouldn't Epic? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Why can't Epic just go that route?
They could have gone the route. I think it's more about like why do we have to go that route? Exactly. That's pretty much the whole movement. Like, why do I have to take this extra step to basically avoid giving you money when it should be the way it should be? And there's some.
Because you want to earn money. I'm kind of confused here on the thought process.
And basically, that's what it is. Well, and like this is gonna go on for a while. This is gonna be a battle.
You gotta think about it, right? This is a valid viewpoint, right? It's my app. I already pay you the licensing fees to put it on the App Store. Why do I have to give you a fraction of my hard work also? Right? I've already paid you rent. Right? You're hosting it for me. I've paid you rent now. Why are you entitled as Apple to a percentage of my income now?
100%. And
Epic isn't wrong for thinking like that.
Yeah, we could go all day. Like this, I honestly, with the way this is rolling out, this just got to be a topic episode for us. But I don't want to do it now because this is still ongoing, right? This is going to be so much information, but this is definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And to finish off this big story, right? Epic is basically getting like fire from all cylinders from everywhere because they're also getting sued by a company called Coral Castle Industry. I don't know. You probably never heard of Coral Castle Industry. I never heard of this before them, but they're basically an amusement park in Florida, right? And the reason they're viewing Epic is because in their their Fortnite game they released a new location, right? And it's pretty much it has the same name, Coral Castle, and their aesthetic is pretty much identical to the amusement park. So the amusement park looked at it and like, no, you can't do that. That's likenesses or copyright infringement, and we're suing you now. Right. So now Epic's getting sued everywhere.
Let's just think about this. I feel like that's kind of ridiculous, right? I'm pretty 100%. Sure without ever even like hearing about Coral Castle, I'm pretty certain that I can already picture in my mind what that place looks like.
Yes, right. It's just the name alone kind of like implies what it is. It's like wet towel.
Look, the way I see, yeah, like I guess just my 2 cents on this. The way I see this lawsuit playing out is Coral Castle is going to lose because it's like the same thing with the dances that they were incorporating in Fortnite, right? Like you had the floss, you had the Carlton, you had this new one that was trending on TikTok. All three of those creators of those dances, quote unquote, sued Epic. But guess what happened? They lost because there's nothing there for them to do anything on, right?
100%. So, honestly, I think either way, I think Coral Castle still wins because they know about the controversies going on with Epic. They know Epic's in the spotlight right now. So even if they lose this,
they're getting some publicity out of it.
They're getting publicity, 100%. They're getting publicity out of this. Even if they lose, even if they pay, let's say, millions of dollars, they still got billions in what's it called? Public
Epic
awareness.
Might just write them a check and get them out of there. Like they might just say, all right, whatever, goodbye.
Like I didn't even know about this amusement park and before this, so now I'm like, oh, I want to check this thing out. like this is just free PR, even if they had something else lag on. But
you know what? I purposefully won't look up the amusement park just because I think they're taking advantage of the situation.
I just find it funny that like Epic is just really amping up for a award, and there's another guy poking the back of the leg, and I'm like, no, I'm suing you too. But last to top it off, that's a lot of stories for today. Like I said, there was a lot of stories this week, but Gonna finish it off with one little one. And, you know, like I always do with my style, I like to end off the week with a little funny story, right?
Okay.
And this one, I would say more, maybe ironic, more, but so there's this student, right? She wrote a brilliant story about a biased algorithm that grades students, right? Mm-hmm. Beautifully well done, highly praised by her teachers and colleagues, right? That same paper, her grade got downgraded because of a biased algorithm.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Her story about a biased algorithm grading students got downgraded because of a biased algorithm. So
wow, would you look at that?
The algorithm that she was kind of like talking about in a negative manner.
No. She wasn't even talking about like this particular algorithm. Like she was just talking about in general. A algorithm. She was like talking about like dystopia kind of world, right? Yeah. Where in the future it was like there's going to be an algorithm that's biased towards students. Okay. And it's going to grade students unfairly. And it just so happened that the UK was implementing this new algorithm to grade students due to the pandemic and the situations, and to lower and it downgraded her paper. So it was super ironic, super consequential, super situational. She literally did not know about this algorithm before it happened. Luckily, you know, they recognized the error. They recognized the biases that the algorithm had.
Yeah, I don't think she cared, considering it was an award-winning paper. But Turnitin.com better take some notes over here.
I just found it really hilarious when I read this. It was just perfect icing. Like she should add this to her story, like as like a footnote.
But anyway, guys, this was Techcast. Right, thank you guys for tuning in again this week. Yep. It's been a lot of fun talking about the news with you guys. Mm-hmm. Let us know if we missed anything, or let us know if you want to hear it. We are always welcome to feedback and other streams. We're dropping another episode this Sunday, and so feel free to tune into that as well.
Also, if you see any cool news over the week, go ahead and forward it to us on our socials. Maybe it's something we can talk about.
We'll give you a shout out on Techcast, right? So send it to you guys. But this has been Techcast. We're the 429 podcast. We'll see you guys on Sunday.
Take care, guys.